Chansey, Nurse Joy's right-hand Pokemon, and quite possibly one of the most salt-inducing Pokemon out there. Chansey is known as one of the most annoying Pokemon to players, but how good was it actually in competitive Pokemon? Let's find out. Though for this video, we're gonna do something a little different. Since Blissey is the evolved form of Chansey, has similar movesets, and was used more during certain gens, I will only be covering one of either Chansey or Blissey in each generation except for Gen 5. In this video, I will be covering Chansey and Blissey for these popular competitive formats. In Gen 1, Chansey was one of the best tanks in the game thanks to Special being one stat. Again, this is covered in my Gen 1 Explained video. Since Special was one stat, it could utilize its base 105 Special stat to attack and defend. This, combined with a massive 250 base HP stat, made Chansey very effective at blocking things. Since it could utilize Special, either Ice Beam or Thunderbolt or both were used to deal damage. It also utilized Thunder Wave to cripple opposing speedy threats like Tauros, Counter to deal massive physical damage back from normal or fighting type moves, and of course Soft Boiled, which heals it instantly. Chansey feared being frozen since freezing was basically death, which means a Chansey being already paralyzed was actually advantageous in some situations. Though of course with any Pokemon, Chansey isn't invincible. Chansey was weak to strong physical hits like things that could utilize Stab, Body Slam, or Hyper Beam like Snorlax or Tauros. As counter only blocked normal and fighting type attacks, the move Earthquake could also be used against it by Pokemon like Tauros and Rhydon. Also, Pokemon such as these Pokemon could also KO Chansey, though they will not one-shot it at full health. All in all though, Chansey was still utilized as one of the best walls in the game. In Gen 2, Chansey evolved into Blissey and continued to reprise its role as the best special wall in the game. It could tank a Sunny Day Fire Blast from Moltres or a Thunder from Zapdos. Though thanks to Special splitting up into Special Attack and Special Defense, Chansey and subsequently Blissey no longer had a base 105 Special Attack, though Blissey still possessed a base 75. Blissey could tank pretty much any special attack. It also got access to Heal Bell, which allowed it to cure the status of its teammates. Thanks to this, it was in competition with Miltank, since Miltank was also a wall who could utilize Heal Bell. Unfortunately, it was impossible to learn Heal Bell and moves like Counter and Thunder Wave at the same time, which hindered it a bit. Since Toxic got buffed in Gen 2 to what it is now, Blissey began to use Toxic more in order to Toxic stall things that did not have rest. Because of this, physical attackers like Snorlax, who could rest off status and hit very hard, gave Blissey a lot of trouble. But to be fair, Snorlax was the best non-legendary Pokemon in the game. Blissey was also weak to residual damage like Spikes, Poison, Sandstorm, and Leech Seed, since it did not have natural cure yet. So the item Leftovers was a must. Though thanks to its utility moves and special bulk, Blissey became a great support Pokemon. In Gen 3, again, Blissey was one of the best, if not the best, special attacking wall. Thanks to its insanely high HP and now access to Calm Mind, Blissey was able to boost its special defense to near impenetrable levels. Since Calm Mind also boosts special attack, Blissey with enough Calm Minds could hit back pretty hard against most Pokemon depending on what move it has. With abilities being introduced, Blissey got Natural Cure, which allowed it to heal its status upon switching out. Additionally, Blissey also got Aromatherapy, which allows Blissey to heal the status of its teammates, as well as Wish, which will heal whichever Pokemon is out in the next turn. This allowed Blissey to really maximize its role as a support Pokemon, as it could tank a lot of hits, heal itself, other Pokemon on the team, and get rid of status. Though of course, just with the first two gens, Blissey was still weak to physical attackers. Snorlax could tank Blissey's special attacks and hit it back with physical hits. Other sweepers like Salamence, Tyranitar, Gyarados with Taunt to stop Blissey's shenanigans, Heracross, and Metagross could also do major damage to Blissey. Though Blissey could hit most of these Pokemon back for super effective damage, they could still take out Blissey in 2 or so hits. Though despite these weaknesses, Blissey's sheer amount of bulkiness pushed it to being one of the best walls in the game. In Gen 4, Blissey maintained its reputation once again. It could tank special hits from Pokemon like Jolteon even with choice specs, Empoleon and Starmie. As far as sets go, not much change aside from a drop in Calm Mind usage, but other than that, it used mostly the same moves with variants of combinations to suit the team. It also became one half of the premier Gen 4 singles defensive core known as Skarm Bliss. We could cover Skarmory in another video someday, but the TLDR is Skarmory with its great defense and neutral resistance to fighting helped cover Blissey's lack of physical defense, while Blissey's enormous HP and special bulk covered Skarmory's lack of special defense. So you better be packing a mixed attacker like Infernape to damage this core. As for weaknesses, as usual, physical attackers were Blissey's bane. Though the thing is that if Blissey had a super effective move like for example Flamethrower, it would be harder for a physical attacker like Scizor to switch in and risk taking damage. Though despite this, fighting Pokemon or Pokemon with fighting moves such as Machamp, Heracross, Scizor, Lucario, and and Breloom all threatened to take out Blissey, as well as taunt users like Gliscor, and Pokemon who could actually outstall Blissey like Shaman and Celebi by using Substitute to avoid status. Trick users like Gengar and Starmie could also cripple Blissey by tricking her a choice item. However, once again, Blissey was still the go-to special wall in the tier. In Gen 4 VGC 2010, which was the format that allowed Uber Pokemon, Blissey was actually used as a niche. Also, I apologize if I don't cover the full extent of this Blissey set, but I only had these 2010 VODs to go off of. Anyway, Blissey was able to tank special hits from Pokemon like Dialga and Palkia pretty well, and was able to inflict Toxic to its opponents while it stalled them out with Protect. Thanks to a natural cure, one could switch it out in order to heal its own status, like after getting Dark Voided by Smeargle. Blissey used Seismic Toss as its main damage move because it did a set amount of damage against anything that wasn't a ghost type, and of course Soft Boil to heal itself. So in a nutshell, Blissey's bulk was so big that it could even find a role in a doubles format that contained Ubers, though this is probably because a good portion of them were special attackers, and I imagine the physical attackers that were in the tier gave it loads of trouble. Alright, Gen 5. This part is going to be a little different as I will be talking about both Blissey and Chansey since both were top threats in the meta. Thanks to the introduction of Eviolite, which is an item that increases the defense and special defense of non-evolved Pokemon by 50%, Chansey made its return to the top. Eviolite gave it higher defense and special defense than Blissey. Since Chansey's HP is still massive, it was a great choice as a wall on teams despite having lower HP and lacking leftovers like Blissey. Thanks to the increased defense stat, Chansey could take on physical hitters a lot better than Blissey. However, the problem with Chansey over Blissey is that it has to rely on Seismic Toss for damage and does very little damage with other special attacking moves. The reliance on Seismic Toss makes it very weak to Gengar since Gengar is immune to fighting moves as well as Toxic and can also taunt Chansey to stop it from using its other moves. In addition to this, Chansey still succumbs to the new fighting types like Terrakion, Keldeo, and Conkeldurr, as well as previous fighting types, though these fighting types did have to be aware of being crippled by status, except for maybe Conkeldurr. But despite this, thanks to Eviolite, Chansey became a great mixed wall. For Blissey, after years of being the best special wall, she finally got weaker, thanks to a move called Psyshock, which is a special attacking move that targets defense instead of special defense. Pokemon like Alakazam, Latios, and Jirachi could hurt Blissey with special moves. Also, the Pokemon Keldeo could use the move Secret Sword in order to do the same thing as Psyshock, except it's a fighting type move. Though Blissey was a good special wall and could block special attacks from Venusaur and Volcarona, Blissey also had weak matchups versus the same fighting type Pokemon as Chansey, as well as other physical attackers like Kyurem Black, Dragonite, and Landorus T. In terms of team support, the main difference between the two was that Blissey was used more on Sand and Hail stall teams, while Chansey was used more on Rain and Sun stall teams. This is because Blissey was able to heal off residual damage thanks to leftovers, while Chansey needs an Eviolite in order to be effective in the meta. Also, Blissey can still deal damage with other special attacking moves, whilst Chansey was usually stuck with Seismic Toss. However, Chansey could actually take a few more physical hits than Blissey, while Blissey couldn't take much. It really depended on team preference at this point, but for the most part, if one was using Sand or Hail, which chips away at your own special wall, Blissey was preferred, while Chansey was preferred for Rain and Sun since those teams did not chip away HP. And finally, Gen 6. It was a good run for Blissey, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which you prefer, Chansey finally outclassed its evolution as a wall. Since weather no longer lasted forever, Chansey became used a lot more over Blissey thanks to its ability to take physical hits better than Blissey, as well as being just as effective at special tanking. Though of course, the weaknesses of Chansey's from before are still present. Now that the move Knockoff was buffed and it was being used by a lot of Pokemon, Chansey feared its Eviolite being knocked off and losing its defenses. Also, Taunt stopped Chansey's non-attacking moves, which was basically everything except Seismic Toss. And of course, fighting types, Wall Breakers, the move Substitute to avoid being status, and Setup Sweepers all had strong matchups versus Chansey, though no Pokemon is without weakness, and Chansey was still one of the best walls in the meta. And that's it. So how did Chansey and Blissey do? Chansey was one of the best Pokemon in Gen 1 thanks to its high special, and Blissey was arguably the best special wall in the game for 3 straight gens. The only thing that outclassed Blissey later on was its own pre-evolution for Gen 6, which is really a testament to how effective the Chansey evolution line is. And I'm sure Chansey is doing well in Gen 7 too. Thanks for watching, everyone. Now before we go, I have an announcement to make. I'm gonna start streaming as a means to hang out with my viewers. So you can follow me on Twitch in the description below at twitch.tv/Kellen_FSG. As of right now, I actually stream myself making these videos mostly so I can focus. So if you want a behind the scenes look, you can check out the stream when it goes up. I also plan to stream stream Melee, Pokemon Go, the main series Pokemon games, Showdown, and really other games I feel like playing. Again, it's mainly more about hanging out with you guys more so than what I'm actually playing. So be sure to give me a follow if you're interested in that. Alright, thanks for listening to that, and if you liked the video and want to see more, be sure to give a like and subscribe to False Swipe Gaming for more weekly Pokemon content. And of course, comment on which Pokemon you want to see next. Alright, that's all I got. Peace out, everyone.